What's going on, guys? Welcome to the video. Now, before we start, I just want to thank the channel's Patreon and Subscribe Star members who support the channel, and everyone who watches my videos and joins the live streams. The channel is nearly at 25,000 subscribers in 2 months and 10 days, thanks to you guys. It's almost as unbelievable as the things said on this panel we are going to look at, so let's get straight into it. Now, we are going to go through yesterday's Jeremy Vine show. That featured Trisha Goddard, the journalist Yasmin Brown, who will from here on out be known as Lammy in a skirt, and Iain Dale, the LBC presenter. So they are discussing everyone's favourite attention-seeking Ramona, Gina Miller, and her plan to take Boris Johnson to court if he prorogues Parliament. Now, I did a video on Gina and John Major the other day, but it seems Lammy in a skirt and Trisha have more to add to this story, so let's check it out.
Anyway, there we go. Thought we'd show you that. Now, there may be a new obstacle to a no-deal Brexit. Remember, there is just the chance that the next Prime Minister, say Boris Johnson, suspends Parliament, so it doesn't stop us leaving. But now the Remain campaigner, Gina Miller, is threatening to sue if that happens. She wants to keep the MPs on duty so they can stop us leaving without a deal on Halloween.
We think that it's beyond the Prime Minister's powers because parliamentary sovereignty is actually the sort of jewel in the constitutional crown. And to bypass it, to close the doors of Parliament, we feel, from the advice and the case we've looked at, that the case law we've looked at, that would be beyond a Prime Minister's powers. It would be an abuse of his powers to close Parliament to get through or to not get through, or to limit the voice of the representatives that we all elect.
Now, remember, this is the woman who went to the Supreme Court and forced the government to secure the approval of Parliament before triggering Article 50. So she means business. She's serious. Do you back her on this latest move? Is she right to do whatever it takes to stop a no-deal Brexit? Or do you think she should actually just let the next Prime Minister get on with the job of delivering it? Yasmin, what do you think?
Well, first of all, it's really important that this woman has had death threats and all sorts happening to her because it becomes this woman. This woman is only using her money, I think, to do what is extremely important for this old democracy. And what she's doing is actually what a lot of MPs want, what a lot of other people want. She's not stopping Brexit. She's doing, the idea for me that Parliament is shut down. What are we, Zimbabwe? That's what Mugabe did to his Parliament. Are we really going to shut down our Parliament?
Well, because Parliament frustrated the will of the people.
It's an elected Parliament with MPs who, one way or another, some are Remainers, some are Brexit.
Well, 75% Remainer.
Yeah, whatever. They have to be part of the process. We cannot have a PM.
You think so, Iain Dale?
Yeah.
Well, of course they've got to be part of the process, but we are 3 years on from the referendum where
However long it takes, Iain.
Can I speak? 17.4 million people voted to leave the EU. Politicians, MPs, have let the people down by the fact that we are still in the EU. Now, Gina Miller can do what she likes with her money, you're absolutely right. But I do question why she's suddenly popped up again, because John Major said the self-same thing last week. So why is everyone giving Gina Miller all this attention when John Major already said he would do that last week? I don't really understand that.
Can I answer the question?
Is it a lack of attention that she's getting?
No, I'm telling you, because when John Major said it, he's a white man, an ex-Prime Minister. No, sorry. No, it is true. The racist abuse this woman gets. She's from somewhere else.
She didn't need to do it if he's already done it, does she?
She's part of the process. If I had the money, I would do it.
I mean, she says it's not about nothing to do with wanting to remain. No, of course it isn't. Of course, that's exactly the reason that she's doing this. I'm not in favour of proroguing Parliament. I don't think it's the right thing to do. Boris Johnson has said many times that he doesn't want to do it either. All his argument is that he doesn't think we should take it off the table in the negotiations with the EU.
Sorry, I had to stop that there. I really thought David Lammy had joined the panel when Yasmin opened her stupid race-baiting mouth there. The reason people don't like Gina is because she wants to ignore the will of the people, to remain in the EU, of course. She tried with her last case that forced Theresa May to allow MPs to vote to trigger Article 50, in the hope MPs would obviously vote against it. That failed, so now in her utter desperation she is back with this ridiculous case. When Iain Dale points out John Major has already said he will take Boris to court if he tries to prorogue Parliament, you can see Lammy in a skirt struggling to contain her fury because John Major is a white man, of course. What a fucking disgrace this race-baiting piece of shit really is. So because this woman happens to have a skin complexion other than white, her voice is more important. You do realise, Yasmin, that is racist. The colour of her skin is irrelevant, except to racists like you, who constantly use race to divide people or belittle someone because they happen to be white. The colour of your skin does not make me think you're a cunt. The shockingly racist and pathetic shit you say makes me think you're a cunt. Iain Dale does make a half-hearted attempt to call out her bullshit, but he should have called her out for being racist, as he would have done if someone else had said it. Let's move on to the next clip.
Shut Parliament if you were Boris Johnson?
No.
Just for a couple of weeks?
No. No, I agree with Yasmin.
Get it through. Well,
and I think
John Major actually did prorogue Parliament to avoid scrutiny over cash for questions.
People say this.
I
forgot this in '97.
No, it happened.
Yeah.
It happened. It was just before the election.
Right.
But I think that I agree with Yasmin. All the attention is because this is a woman of colour.
No, it's not. It's
is.
nothing to do with it.
Oh,
Look at the tweets. Look at the tweets today.
why involve racism? Why involve...
Well, I didn't.
Sort of...
Yasmin did.
No, I've looked at the tweets. I've looked at what they're saying.
I'm saying to people, why involve her background when you're discussing an issue that you may or may not agree with?
I think the reason that she's news more than John Major is people listen to her because she made a very decisive move in all of this early on. And it may have been a disastrous move, actually, from her point of view, because she got the Commons to have a say, and Theresa May, when she had power, which she doesn't now, jumped the Commons into voting for Article 50, and we were then on, an agenda which turned out not to be very successful. Is that the analysis right there?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so she's shown she has timing and power and money, Gina Miller, and she'll probably get what she wants.
Only because she has the money. Now, I mean, she's got every right to do what she likes with her money, but an ordinary citizen wouldn't be able to do
But a lot
this.
of the politicians
She
are only
talks
there
about it
because
being
they've got money.
Well, no.
Yes.
No, they're not. They've actually been voted for. Who's voted for Gina Miller?
No.
No one.
Oh,
no
she
one.
is free.
We have
No
the right,
one.
a citizen's right. I can do a citizen's arrest. That's the great thing about this country. I would too. That's the great thing about this country.
The thing about citizen's arrest, when you do a citizen's arrest, the police always come and arrest you afterwards. That's the job. Anyway, leaving that to one side. You think the great thing is that Gina Miller can do this?
Yeah, and she's not the
How
only
many
one.
people can do it, like Iain says?
No, she's the one who's being, she's using her money. She's not the centre of this whole process. A lot of people...
No, but she's inserting herself at the centre
she's
of the
using her
process.
She has
money.
the right
I'm
to do
using
that.
my voice.
Right.
John Major's using his position. There has to be some respect for Parliament.
And there has to be respect for the people who voted for Brexit to happen in the first place.
Yeah, but
you don't respect that.
half of them didn't vote for no deal.
You don't respect
half
that.
of them,
You
as
don't
we've
know what
seen,
they
we've
voted
seen
for. They voted to leave the EU.
A survey
Hang on, everybody.
A survey
Wait.
shows
Leaving a
that
mess
no
for the
deal
youth.
was not what all of them voted for. There is survey evidence on
Trish,
that.
did you...
So we hear Iain Dale point out that John Major prorogued Parliament to avoid being questioned over the cash for access scandal in 1997. Jeremy Vine at least admits it happened and seems curious as to why he forgot it happened, but Lammy in a skirt, the Ramonin fuckpig that she is, dismisses it completely, saying I don't remember that, and because she don't remember it, it does not fit her narrative then, it did not happen and it should be censored or ignored. She is an absolute disgrace to journalism. Of course, Trisha Goddard goes down the same race-baiting bullshit narrative that Yasmin used because everything is racist or sexist to these leftist fuckpigs. Yet another disciple of the race-baiting shit cunt David Lammy. Trisha tries to claim Iain involved racism, when of course it was Yasmin the race-baiting fuckpig who took about 30 seconds to bring race into it, because everything is judged on race or sex when it comes to these leftist media trouts. Yeah, Trisha, why did Yasmin go straight to this woman's race? Why could Yasmin not defend her arguments based on their merits? Oh yeah, because they have no merits. People voted to leave, and both Gina and Yasmin want to ignore that and remain in the EU. So in desperation, they'll go back to the old bullshit of calling people racist. Gina Miller is an attention-seeking Ramona who will do all she can to shit on democracy. Iain Dale is right. John Major was doing this before her, but Gina couldn't sit back when there was publicity to be had, could she now? Let's go to the next clip anyway.
You can tell us whether you think in the end this thing... People voted for Brexit. We haven't managed to deliver it. Therefore, do you just say, crash out on the 31st of October, that's it,
But here's the thing, and again, I'm agreeing with Yasmin. If people... No, but it's not just women of colour. If people had known, I always look at the Scottish referendum and how long it took to prepare the Scottish people for that, and then how long it took to not prepare the rest of the country for this whole Brexit thing. I think if people had known about the hard Brexit and all the other things, it would have been a fairer vote. People would have been more informed. You had
I don't know, people, when you say that, people go nuts.
No, I'm not saying they're stupid, but look at all the places.
They were lied to. They were lied to.
Here we go.
They were lied
I'm so fed up with these ridiculous things about people being stupid and lied to.
What, you think politicians don't lie?
Of course, sometimes they lie, just as sort of journalists lie sometimes as well. Look, this was a fair and democratic referendum in which the 1.2 million more people voted to leave. And I'm sure if there was another referendum tomorrow, you'd get a fairly similar...
OK, let's go to Storm.
Can you believe Lammy in a skirt's reaction to the evil white man Iain Dale when Trisha said she agrees with her? What a disgrace. She said, see, women of colour with her fists clenched, waving them around like this is the civil rights movement or something. Is this woman for real? To me it looked like she was showing her real prejudice against white people there. I'm glad Trisha distances herself from this dirty cunt's blatant racism. If it was the other way around and a white person looked at her and waved their fists around cheering people of white or some stupid shit like that, she would be screaming like a fucking banshee about how racist it is. The hypocrisy is unreal, and both Iain and Jeremy should have called her out for it, but of course, they didn't do shit. Trisha then moves on to calling people who voted for Brexit stupid, which is something we hear often. Brexiteers are racist or stupid, old and all this bullshit. Iain points out that we had a fair and democratic referendum, but Lammy in a skirt tries to say it wasn't because she lost. What a surprise. Now let's move on to some viewer questions.
With the question of whether you support Gina Miller's attempt to just ensure that Boris Johnson, who will probably be Prime Minister in 2 weeks' time, doesn't shut Parliament. That's the key thing.
So first up, we're going to speak to Mark from Worcestershire, who does support Gina Miller.
So, Mark, you want her to take out this case?
Not a chance. I think it's disgraceful, to be quite honest. We had a democratic process, and now she's just messing with it. You know,
OK, the line's not great, but I thought you said you were supporting Gina Miller. Did I get that wrong? Yes. Yeah. OK, you don't support her.
You're wrong.
Completely wrong.
It's just wrong.
Right. So you would want Parliament shut down for a couple of weeks, yeah?
Yeah. If that's what it takes to get this done, then yeah.
OK, Mark. Thank you. Roger in Surrey, we've got. Hey, Roger.
Hello there. How are you, Jeremy?
Yeah, good. What do you think?
Right. Gina Miller, it's not her money for a start she's spending, it's her backers. It happened before. What right has she got to say when she wasn't even born here that we had a democratic vote, a democratic country?
When you say she's not
we're leaving.
She wasn't she?
No, she wasn't. But so what?
This is racism.
Actually, let me have a go on this. Hang on. What you have just said, sir, is racist, and you should be ashamed of yourself for saying it. Just because she wasn't born here, she's a British citizen, she had a right to vote, just as you did, just as I did.
Look, we are English, and we voted to come out.
Well, she's a citizen.
Now, we want to
Roger,
come
she's
out,
a citizen here as well.
Racist, just forget it.
These are the people.
You know, we voted to come out, democratic vote, and it's not being adhered to. Now, let's get it done.
OK, Roger, thank you. Storm.
Right, we heard from two callers there who do not agree with Gina Miller. The first calls it disgraceful, but has a terrible line, so probably does not get out all he wanted to say, before Jeremy moves on to the next caller, Roger, who says Gina wasn't even born here, which immediately gets the panel's backs up, calling it racist. Which it's not. He did not mention her race, he mentioned her birthplace. There is a big difference. Iain Dale even joins in with these idiots calling this guy racist, which prompts Roger to tell Iain not to call him a racist, you idiot. Him pointing out Gina is not from the UK is not really a valid argument against the stupidity she comes out with, but it's not racist at the end of the day. He did not mention her race once. Not being born here does not define your race, you idiot. Jeremy Vine did not even consider it racist until Lammy in a skirt opened her mouth calling it racist, if you go back and watch that very beginning of that clip. Now let's check out the final clip from this.
Storm.
Next up, we've got an international call here. We're going to speak to Alain from France, who agrees with Gina Miller.
Alain, bonjour.
Bonjour.
What do you think?
And good morning, Yasmin. I'm from Yorkshire. Yes, what do I think? I think that anybody who prorogues Parliament should suffer the same fate as Charles I.
Well, that was beheading, wasn't it? I think
It was indeed.
Right.
And it wouldn't affect Boris Johnson because that's not where he speaks from.
Well, the thing is that Charles I was a king, but Boris Johnson is elected. That's the difference.
Come on. Who can take Boris Johnson seriously?
He represents
You're
a
right.
constituency.
He's elected by a sliver of the British population.
Well, that's a bit
No.
undermining.
More than you've ever been elected by.
Yeah, but I haven't stood. But listen, the Tory, 160,000 people are foisting a prime minister on us.
They're electing.
No, what I'm talking
No,
about,
they're
he's
foisting.
elected in Uxbridge. That's the point. He's a member of Parliament. You
okay, there.
don't behead MPs. Thank you very much. Alain, you said everything, Alain? You're going to get back
Just
to
about, thank you.
your French excitement?
I love Alain.
Good old Alain.
We're going to speak to Maria from London next, who says Gina Miller is giving herself a bad name.
Oh, why do you say that, Maria?
Yeah. Good morning, Jeremy, and good morning, panel.
Good morning.
Yeah, I do think that she is giving herself a bad name, just from her previous attempts where she tried to frustrate the Brexit process. I mean, everybody knows that she is pro-Remain, and effectively she would like to revoke Article 50. And therefore, with doing what she's doing now, it is a form of revoking Article 50 via the back door.
Yeah, the front door.
You know, whereas I think that, say, with John Major, we know that he doesn't want to put the Queen into a negative position or a very difficult position.
That's right. He had a slightly different reason, didn't he? He doesn't want the Queen, right at the end of her reign, to be having to say, OK, I'll shut Parliament. I mean, what a nightmare for her.
Exactly, yeah. And I think, therefore, I think proroguing Parliament in itself is not such a terrible thing, you know, sort of from a point of principle, because, you know, we don't want to involve the Queen, but I do think that Gina Miller should not be the person getting involved in that.
Okay.
It's almost as though, you know, I don't know, like a kind of from a branding point of view, I think that really we should have just somebody else doing it.
Right. Well, at this point, Yasmin's about to kick off again. Yeah.
No, I'm not. I'm just so depressed when I hear this sort of stuff because it is entirely based on the outsider, right? And if Gina Miller was white and, rich, this wouldn't be being said about her.
Well, imagine if it was, let's take the race out of it here. Imagine if it was a sort of Felicity Kendall type person, OK, from Kensington.
We don't know what the reaction
would be. But you would get this thing of a posh, it probably is a gender issue,
She used to work as a maid.
What if it
she cleaned hotel rooms.
There's a posh element, isn't
She's a self-made woman. When she came here, she was a mother of a disabled child and she had to clean hotel rooms.
Right. So she doesn't come from a posh background. And before we were discussing that, Iain, you were saying, no, it's not racist. And then we had that caller. Unfortunately, it is.
One caller doesn't prove
no,
anything.
but
I think
it's the tip of it.
Maria was shading into that. Go on,
just one quick thing. People need to understand that prorogation is not actually always a bad thing because prorogation used to happen every year. Just before the Queen's speech, Parliament would be prorogued. There would be a debate on the prorogation. So it's not as if this hasn't happened many times before. It's just that people are questioning the reason for doing it. If there was going to be a Queen's speech in early November, which you'll remember there always used to be, that's when it would happen. It would be automatic that Parliament would be prorogued for 2 weeks. Well, the whole thing is procedural.
Yeah, but this becomes then for a
substantive thing.
Yeah.
No, but it is still procedural.
OK, well, thank you very much indeed for your calls on that. Any more comments, Storm? Or
I think we're done. I think we've run out of time.
So we hear from this Ramoning fuckpig who wants to behead people who prorogue Parliament, which is a bit strong, mate. Don't see you calling for John Major's head on a stick, though. I think it's just your Ramona bias making you say that, in all honesty. Jeremy Vine points out Boris was elected, which of course makes Lammy in a skirt shit the bed and claim he was elected by a sliver of people. Before Iain Dale shuts down her bullshit saying it's more than ever elected you, and let me tell you, it's more than would ever elect you. Now, I am no fan of Iain Dale, but damn, that was a quick and great comeback. Jeremy rightly points out he was talking about the fact Boris is an elected MP, not the leadership contest, forcing her to shut her stupid mouth. Shame she doesn't listen to what's being said before letting her Boris derangement syndrome take over and open it in the first place. Next we heard from Maria in London, who thinks Gina has given herself a bad name after her previous attempts to stop Brexit, because of course her only interest in this court case is to frustrate Brexit, as we know already. As where John Major's apparent reason is to keep the Queen out of Brexit. He said that anyway, as to whether it's true, who knows. Jeremy Vine said it's a nightmare for the Queen to have to be involved, and I kind of agree with that, but it's not Boris Johnson's fault. That is down to the Remainer politicians and media spreading Project Freer bullshit since before the Brexit referendum even occurred. Maria says she has no issue with shutting down Parliament, but she does not think Gina should be getting involved, which of course Gina shouldn't be getting involved. But we know what Remainers are like. They don't give a fuck about what they should do. She only cares about ignoring the Democratic vote. Of course, Lammy in a skirt tries to make this about something it's not. Maria did not mention where Gina was from, what she looks like or anything. She just stated she should not be involved. Yasmin is literally Lammy in a skirt right now. It's like she went to the same race baiting school as he did. Trisha tries to double down on the racism claims because in 2019 everything is racist, which is getting really old now when it comes to the media. The guy they called racist made a comment that did not further the argument against Gina, but it was not racist, it was just stupid. Maybe Trisha is also Lammy in a skirt, but not half as bad as Yasmin at least. So I'm going to end the video there, guys. I can't take much more of the absolute bullshit that these guys are doing. Let me know what you think down in the comments section below. Leave a like, subscribe and share the video as it helps the channel a lot, and I will see you all in the next one.